Welcome to Predictive Analytics, Now What? I will be your host today, Travis Averett, along with Dr. Lynn Burks.
Hi, everybody.
Today we'll be talking about predictive analytics and how they can really change the path of your university and your connection with the students from a faculty perspective. We're going to talk about the importance of faculty presence in the classroom through data and analytics and social and emotional mattering. And finally, we'll talk about the data impact practices and how that can really influence and change the game for your university. To kick things off, let's talk with Dr. Lynn Burks about presence and mattering.
Thanks, Travis. So we started this journey way back in 2017. And today is really about the important relationship between predictive analytics and faculty presence that creates the sense of mattering in our classrooms. And surely we're entering a phase in higher education where nudges, bots, notifications are coming in hard and fast. We're here to talk about what we believe is this eloquent balance between leveraging analytics and all of the good that analytics bring to you, but also leveraging good teaching and faculty presence to create student resilience that ultimately leads to student success. And so we really can go all the way back to Tinto, where Tinto's sociological model talked about the importance of the experiences that students have in their academic performance area and the interactions that they have with their faculty members in their classrooms and how integrated they become in their social and academic systems of their institution. Faculty really drive those integrations. And as you think about offering more and more remote offerings at your institution, the idea of faculty presence that is, that comes from how students perceive communication style of the faculty, how faculty communicate with their students, social presence, this whole that, the connectiveness, the identification of what students are learning in their courses, aligning to their career goals. All of this are powerful connections that are fostered through faculty. But we're going to talk to you about how you can embrace data and embrace really the power of predictive analytics with faculty presence that really then do take your classrooms to the next level.
Yep, fantastic, Lynn. And so to really kind of keep it simple is imagine all your students have these footprints, these data footprints throughout their entire course experience and their university experience for that matter. And throughout the curriculum, the footprints are indicative of student success, failures, potential behaviors, and choices that they make as they proceed throughout their academic career. And so as we look a little bit deeper and we can look at all the footprints, we can really see that the data models and the data of our students can be all over the place. There can be their foot tracks all over their course, all over their university, and trying to make sense of where those foot tracks are really leading can be a major benefit to you.
Absolutely. And Travis, even from a faculty standpoint, all the data points that we have about students can be really overwhelming. And you can be really data rich, but you have to be able to take those analytics and leverage them in the correct way.
Absolutely. So if we start to look at a student that is starting to head down toward course failure, we can see that very easily with advanced analytics. And what the power of this is we can look to see earlier in that course experience and begin to nudge that student back to a more purposeful, meaningful outcome that leads to their success, leads to their achievements, leads to them persisting at the university and ultimately reaching their career and educational goals.
Right. And Travis, the nudge is really, it's short, it's positive, it's encouraging, it's timely and relevant. So that's where we talk about where predictive analytics can help. Moving from reactive to proactive to try to nudge that student before they go down that course failure path and move them to course success. And it's also really action orientated. And so in really just one action item, students particularly that get behind, it can be very challenging. And if you get them to focus on one thing at a time, they feel like they're making progress, and you can help build resilience as they move through and as they kind of catch up with their work, or you can help them also pace their work. So I think one of the learnings too, Travis, that we've learned about is the fact that it's not just about low performing students, it's about all your students. So all your students leave behind footprints. And how do you react to those footprints? When you look at some of the students that are leaving your university, many of them continue to leave your institution in high academic standing as well. So when you look at the data, it's really important that you just don't reach out to the students that are struggling, that you're able to reach all the students where they're at and be able to communicate with them that allows them, to really feel your presence. And so the power of a nudge to a high performing student is just as impactful as the power to a low performing student.
And Lynn, even those engaged students too, you can help refocus their attention. They might just be engaged to be engaged, but you can help guide and redirect them to help support those lower engaged students inside of that classroom experience as well.
Absolutely.
Now, so what really is our engagement, and how do we leverage engagement at our university? And so from our perspective, the data package kind of looks at all the LMS activities. That's one of our main predictors of student success. And so it comes into our DeVry student engagement model, and then it kind of spits out this engagement score, a 0 to 10 score. And what you get out of that in terms of a specific course is a heat map of all the students, from the red unengaged to these blue highly engaged students inside that course experience. Then you have to take that data with your innate knowledge of that specific course, because that's what it's really about. A nudge is something that is purposeful, meaningful, and relevant at that time for that particular student or group of students. And so in this case, you can begin to break it down just even by their grade inside of the course. You can see the A student there that's in the kind of that orangey color that's getting a grade, not engaged in the class. And that is a good at-risk indicator right there of that student might start falling down the ladder, might be a use case for leaving the institution as well. Likewise, you'll also see them in the underperforming, the 70% and below student buckets as well. These are students that are completely MIA, might be missing critical components, but you even see these highly engaged students in these side of these buckets. So you can start to break out these trends and feel out the trends that are purposeful and meaningful for your demographic of students as it relates to your curriculum and your course experience and delivery.
Absolutely. And the power of the nudge then is it's a focused outreach. Now you have another tool in your toolkit. The faculty member still has to look at all these different data points, but it allows you so much more precision that allows you to make that nudge when that student needs it. And so it takes all those footprints and it organizes it. And in a very efficient way, I could have a class of 60 students, and I could nudge each of my students in each of those different buckets in a matter of 6 minutes, but still create that personalized touch based on those filters.
Yep. And another big thing is you can kind of look at their engagement over time too. You can see if your nudges were meaningful and impactful, and did it make a difference? Did it drive that student into positive outcomes as well? That's another great means of tracking this kind of information. So next, you can also kind of begin to look at those mass nudges or the personalized nudges and kind of begin to group some of those together to create direct targeted communication that is still that purposeful and meaningful to different student buckets, maybe continuing students, retaking students, first online students, first on-site students, maybe they're new to the institution. And so you can kind of start to have some initial break-in nudges, so to speak, with these different student demographics as well.
Exactly, Travis. And they're still personal, right? So all of your students that are taking an online course for the first time. You can do a very personalized nudge to welcome them to remote learning, give them a tip so they're successful, and welcome them to class. That is exactly the type of way you can filter your buckets and create these mass nudges that are still extremely personal and relevant to the student, because there's nothing more frustrating from a student standpoint than when you nudge them on something that is not true. I don't have your assignment. I did turn in my assignment. I wasn't in class. I was in class. So we need to be very, very careful of some of these mass nudges that are coming out of some of these analytics. And even as a faculty member throughout our entire journey, we said, check all your data points. You still need the faculty member to be really responsible for surveying all of the data before they really make that nudge, because there's nothing more frustrating than to nudge a student on a situation that is also not true.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you kind of are hinting at here, is to not bot-ize the nudge, because there's a time and place for that, but this nudge and that personal connection and the sense of mattering, that's really built in innate to that connection you can drive between the relevant information that's taking place in class, the quick results that you can get with the engagement score that we're talking about here, and then making that connection with that student. In a traditional setting, you usually, hey, we had assignments due this week. Now I'm going to grade it over the next 2, 3, 4 days of the next week. And that's when you're oftentimes finding a student isn't engaged or missing an action, or there's another issue. Maybe there's a family issue that you don't know about. But the engagement score allows you to get in earlier in the session, earlier in that week period to, oh, hey, Beth or John or Bob are kind of starting to fall off the radar a little bit. Now I can reach out to them on Wednesday before they've even submitted an assignment and start to bring them back into the fold, connect with them, and see what's going on to help keep them engaged and moving in that right direction.
Well, and I think, Travis, too, you move it from, you really move it from tactical to a true sense of growth mindset. So maybe a student is missing the last 3 assignments, but I can nudge that student in a certain way where I never say that they're missing the assignment. I just say, hey, are you okay? What's happening? How can I help? And that sort of growth mindset creates this sense of belonging and mattering that really is what social emotional health is all about. And very often, sometimes social emotional learning is handed off to an advisor, handed off, to the dean of students or somebody else. And what we're seeing is students are really, really demanding that faculty also, that they weave in social emotional learning in their approach to teaching. It should be part of their instructional approach.
Absolutely, Lynn, because it's really the student's new focus is it centers the world around them, so to speak, and their educational experience, and kind of helps bring them back into that fold and makes it personalized for them. And that draws them into that experience that much more. And you're the faculty, you have the most connection with that student out of pretty much anyone else at the university outside of their immediate peer networks. And so being able to create these connections with them is super important.
And your remote learners tend to be more non-traditional. So they have a lot of other distractions going on in their life. And so being able to create this sort of classroom environment where you're also concerned about their social emotional health as well as their academic perseverance is really important, and they appreciate it. School is a place that they go to during their day, but they have all these other things going on in their lives. So this becomes really important for that non-traditional student. And so, when you look at our story, we started way back when in the fall of 2017, where we had a little bit under 50 sections and about 900 course takers, and we piloted it. We specifically and very intentionally chose faculty that embraced data, that were our change agents, and were our early adopters. And we very shortly saw how much the tool was helping their students, how much the faculty were enjoying the students, and how much difference it actually made in their teaching and also in the course success. So we went all in our second session, where we went into 1,800 sections and about 36,000 course takers. And we saw about a 60% adoption rate and a little bit over 27,000 outreaches.
Yep. And then since then, we've just continued to expand this, and it's been an organic growth. It's not been a mandated thou shall use this system and thou shall make use of the engagement score. While we do track it, which I'll showcase in a little bit, it's been very much a grassroots effort, and we've had a 97% adoption consistently since our third session. And we've actually increased our course takers to 38,000. But more importantly, we send about 190,000 nudges every 8 weeks to our student population of this growth mindset and this to create this culture shift of mattering at our institution between the faculty and the students, and overall the university and to the students, right?
Absolutely.
And so talking a little bit about to carry that forward with that enormous growth, what we have been doing on the back end is taking some of the raw data, leveraging Power BI to make advanced analytics and measurements and tracking of the use of the whole platform, whether individual groups or colleges are nudging or not, the quantity when they nudge throughout the week, whether particular faculty are not nudging or potentially over nudging or severely under nudging a student group, and they have a lot of withdrawals or a lot of students that are in the red category, right? And so we can kind of help coach and mentor those faculty to help the students then achieve their educational and career goals.
Exactly, Travis. And pay attention to thoughtful support, because it's not a one size fits all. That we wanted to be very clear. We didn't mandate this. You have to nudge once a week. Well, maybe sometimes students need it, maybe sometimes they don't. Maybe you have students that come, you have face-to-face meetings of that class 3 times a week. So how much you nudge, is predicated about your interactions with your students. So you need, while this has guided us to sustain it, you have to also be thoughtful with this data as you coach faculty so they can leverage the data the best they can, but then also, we can kind of see where we have gaps so we can provide that extra level of support. And so, we immediately heard, faculty, within 2 days, I heard back from 10 of my 12 students. I was simply astonished. Faculty, I've seen improved participation from those individuals already. Powerful stuff.
And here's another one from another faculty member. Inspire is efficient and at identifying and tracking those who need attention. Nudge, good job, increasing engagement level. You're able to CC the student's assigned advisor to help bring them into the fold to then, again, help support that student. That is just a fantastic tool to help bring that student back into the mix.
And I think probably the most powerful feedback that we get is what we hear back from our students. The heartfelt feedback back from students about how much that, that thoughtful nudge at that time when that student needed it. Thank you. It's been challenging, but I will finish strong. I mean, powerful. Thank you. I hope that I can do well in well in calculus, that's my fear. Wish me luck. It's amazing when you start hearing these testimonies back from your students about how much, so they truly are also reacting to these nudges.
And even as we have done workshops around this tool and technology as well for our faculty in the past, what we hear is the faculty are in there sending nudges during the workshops and already receiving these kind of responses back from their students. Just this holistic appreciation that I matter to you, that's meaningful to me, that you took the time to reach out to me personally on these issues, that matters to me.
And it becomes a two-way exchange then, right, Travis? So
Yep,
then it
absolutely.
becomes something very, very different that does become transformative, that does truly change the entire relationship between a faculty member and a student.
And that, that's really kind of drove our successes with limited, I'd say low stakes requirements. We've really achieved a very high adoption rate, 97% adoption rate. That's unheard of for an educational technology that really didn't require any kind of mandates. Man, everyone just saw the value in it and grasped it and took off running with that technology as well.
Absolutely. And we saw very quickly an increase in course success. We saw an increase in our course satisfaction, and we saw a direct impact on our persistence due to IFF.
And so we've been on this for numerous sessions now. And what we've seen is just this sustained and continued energy and student success gains around the technology. It's never leveled back off. It just kind of keeps ramping up and ramping up. And right now we're kind of pretty much everybody at our institution is using the technology. There are very far and few between that aren't. And, ultimately what it's done, it's completely transformed how we teach at DeVry University and been able to instill that sense of mattering between the faculty and the students in a much easier fashion.
Absolutely. And while we've kept COVID separate from this, as we dealt with COVID, we were ready and we put our sense of mattering and nudging into high gear. And we saw this past spring our highest student outcomes ever. And so it'll not only, transform your classrooms, but when there's external factors that impact students, it really does help students move through crisis. And again, we were prepared because this has been part of our culture for so long.
So wanted to thank everyone for watching this segment today. If you have any questions for myself or Lynn, feel free to reach out to us at our emails provided here. Thank you, and thanks for watching.